Hi everyone. For those who don't know me, my name is Nick Davies. I do a lot of the vegetable seed research with FAR. Today we're going to have a bit of a chat about Trichoderma seed coatings in pea seed crops. We're going to focus on platform and an experimental set of strains from Lincoln University. So they are not publicly available, but the Arable platform product is. There are some other biologicals, but Agram's a local company, and we didn't want to add too much different things in there because each year we change locations, we change seasons, we change cultivars, those kind of things. So we've stuck with platform. And we've stuck with Wakel XL as a chemical treatment. So over the last 4 or 5 years, we've conducted 6 trials now, but we'll talk about 5 of them today. And it's to look at the benefits of Trichoderma seed coatings. Now, the very last trial we'll talk about did receive foliar fungicides, but we'll point that one out when we get to it. I'd love to be able to give you a really nice sort of take-home result so that you can all just sort of stop listening now. But unfortunately, there's a lot of variability in the trials, and there's not really a clear-cut answer either way. So we'll just jump straight into our first trial. So in 21-22 season, Lincoln University did a trial on their farm, and they found a yield increase, and that was largely driven by an increase in plant count. They did also find differences in Anamyces and in Fusarium incidents, but none of the differences really lined up with anything that would drive a yield difference. So while they were observed to decrease, we don't really think that is what drove the difference in yield, because it didn't really affect seed weight or pod numbers, those sorts of things. The only thing that could really explain the yield difference was that increase in plant count. The next year, we ran one at FAR's Ko-Fi farm here in Lincoln. We didn't observe any differences in yield or in Fusarium, but we did find a difference in incidence of Aphanomyces infection again. But the Aphanomyces infection rate was fairly low, and the Fusarium infection rate was really high. So this could be that wasn't driving, or that the Trichoderma wasn't protecting against Fusarium, but it was protecting against Aphanomyces, or it might be that just the Fusarium pressure was so high that it just blew everything out. Again, no foliar fungicides on that trial. We ran 3 trials the next year. 2 of them you can see there, the opposite sides of a laneway. One of them was planted straight back into the pea location from the previous season that we've just talked about. And we found no differences across the board in anything, and that includes the difference between Wakel XL and bare seed treatment or Trichoderma or anything. So again, Fusarium was the primary disease. It was 100% incidence, and it really drove yields down. This was quite a poor performing trial overall. It was about 2.5 tons from memory, so not a high yielder. And again, no foliar fungicides. The same year, we did a trial over at Plant and Food, which is just down the road in Lincoln as well. And this was within a high-grade seed lot that PGG Wrightsons themselves were managing. So it did receive foliar fungicides as per their agronomy team decisions. And so the only differences in it were the seed coatings. So one was just Wakel, one was just Agram platform, and one was both. And again, we didn't see any differences across the board in that, so they all performed the same. So overall, there were no trials where Trichoderma seed coating outperformed Wakel XL on yield. There was one trial where Wakel plus Trichoderma outperformed Wakel alone, and that was that very first trial with Lincoln University. There were 3 trials where there was no differences between Trichoderma and Wakel. There were 2 trials where Wakel and Trichoderma both outperformed bare seed yield. So they performed similarly. Trichoderma didn't outperform Wakel, but both of them outperformed bare seed. And in all trials where Wakel outperformed bare seed, so did Trichoderma. So we don't have a nice clear take-home message from this. It's one of those things where between years, between locations, between cultivars, there's differences, and some years it worked, some years it doesn't. But the same can be said for Wakel. So this is pretty common with seed treatments. They've been described to me as insurance, and it might work in some years and it might not work in other years. And we don't really have any way of saying how to predict when that application might be advantageous. So if we were to lose Wakel overnight for whatever reason, either one of the chemicals gets removed, or the company selling it just decide not to sell it here anymore, anything like that, then Trichoderma seed coatings would certainly be pretty high on the list of potentials to be investigated, either as a replacement directly or in combination with other agrochemicals, because Trichoderma does seem to be reasonably resistant to the agrochemical fungicides. But again, we don't know when or why it's going to work. So if you're interested in it, give it a go. We don't have any strong information either way. Okay, thanks everyone.